a cold Christmas Eve in 1945, a fire tore through the Sodder family home in rural West Virginia. In the chaos that followed, 5 of the Sodder children were nowhere to be found. No bodies, no evidence. Just a lingering mystery that has baffled investigators and haunted the family for decades. What really happened to the Sodder children on that fateful night? And why, after more than 75 years, are we still without answers? George and Jenny Sodder were Italian immigrants who had settled in Fayetteville, West Virginia, a small, close-knit community nestled in the Appalachian Mountains. George had built a successful trucking company, and together, they raised 10 children. By all accounts, the Sodders were well respected and lived a comfortable, happy life. But George's outspoken political beliefs, particularly his harsh criticism of Benito Mussolini and Italy's fascist regime, had made him some enemies. Little did they know that these tensions would soon turn their world upside down. December 24th, 1945, started like any other Christmas Eve. The Sodder family celebrated together, with 5 of the children staying up late, playing with their toys and enjoying the festivities. At around 12:30 a.m., Jenny Sodder heard a strange noise like a thud on the roof, but thought little of it. By 1 a.m., the house was ablaze. George, Jenny, and 4 of their children managed to escape, but 5 of the children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, had gone to bed earlier and were trapped inside. Despite George's frantic efforts to save his children, climbing through windows, breaking into the attic, every attempt was thwarted. Oddly, the family's phone line had been cut, preventing them from calling for help. When the local fire department finally arrived, it was too late. The house had been reduced to rubble and the 5 children were presumed dead. But something was wrong. No remains were ever found. From the beginning, strange details surrounded the fire. The Sodders' phone line was severed, not burned, suggesting it was cut before the fire started. George's ladder, which he used to reach the attic, was mysteriously missing and later found in a ditch far from the house. Multiple witnesses reported seeing strange figures lurking near the Sodder home before the fire broke out. And most disturbingly, Jenny noticed that while the fire had completely incinerated the house, household appliances were still intact. Could human bodies have been entirely reduced to ash? As the investigation continued, the lack of human remains raised suspicions. Many began to believe the children hadn't died in the fire at all, but had been abducted. Multiple witnesses reported seeing the children alive after the fire. One claimed to have seen them in a passing car as the blaze raged. Others reported sightings in a nearby town, accompanied by unfamiliar adults. Could the children have been taken? If so, by whom and why? George Sodder's strong political views had earned him enemies both locally and abroad. He was vocal in his disdain for Mussolini and had received several threats, some warning that his house would go up in smoke if he didn't keep quiet. Some theorized that the fire and the disappearance of the children was the work of those seeking revenge against George for his opposition to the Italian fascist regime. Could his enemies have orchestrated the kidnapping of his children as a form of punishment? Jenny Sodder never believed that her children had perished in the fire. For years she conducted her own investigation, reaching out to anyone who might have answers. She hired private investigators, sent letters to the FBI, and followed every lead, no matter how remote. One lead took her to New York, where a woman claimed to have seen one of her sons. Another came in the form of a mysterious letter containing a photograph of a young man who strongly resembled her missing son, Louis, with a cryptic note that read, "Louis Sodder, I love Brother Frankie." Jenny held on to this photo for the rest of her life, convinced it was her son. In a desperate bid for answers, George and Jenny Sodder erected a massive billboard along Route 16 near their home. It offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to their missing children. For decades, the billboard stood as a testament to their search for the truth, capturing the attention of thousands of passers-by. Despite the numerous leads the billboard generated, none ever led to the discovery of the children. Over the years, the mystery of the Sodder children has become the subject of intense speculation. Some believe they were abducted and raised by another family, while others think they may have been sold into adoption or forced labor. Others, still, link the case to mafia involvement, citing George's ties to the Italian-American community and his vocal opposition to Mussolini. Could organized crime have been involved in their disappearance? Despite these theories, the truth remains elusive. The loss of their 5 children left the Sodder family scarred for life. George and Jenny passed away never knowing the truth about what happened on that Christmas Eve in 1945. To this day, their surviving children continue the search, hoping that one day the mystery will finally be solved. But as the years pass, the question remains: did the Sodder children die in the fire, or were they stolen away, never to return? What do you think? Were the Sodder children victims of a terrible fire, or were they abducted? Could this mystery ever be solved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more unsolved mysteries.